of whey protein. Fuel the muscle and starve the fat cells. Plain alone is 130. All right, here we are, folks. Welcome to The Body Mechanic, America's Truth Detector. Welcome to Health and Wellness Freedom on this Monday, May 27th, 2024. My second podcast, doing the Body Mechanic podcast. Now, in my first podcast, I talked about how I have a 100% success rate healing people, dealing with people's health problems, helping people overcome their health problems. And I want to expound a little on that. It might seem kind of extreme to say something like that, and people's reaction might be like, well, I don't believe that. What are you doing? You promise the universe and deliver the moon or something? No, I actually do promise and deliver the universe. It's true. I'm not lying or exaggerating when I say I have a 100% success rate, and by that I mean a 100% success rate healing people who do exactly what I say. You have to do what I say. Some people, they may not do exactly what I say, but they do part of what I say, and they'll get part relief or maybe even full relief, but it's temporary. But no, when I say I have a 100% success rate, I mean it. I wouldn't make such a wild, extreme assertion, claim like that if it wasn't true. I could get myself in a lot of trouble if I made such a big claim without it being actually true. But no, I can heal anybody, any problem, and help everyone obtain homeostasis so we can stop wasting our money on unnecessary supplements and treatments, and stop guessing on our health and diet. Stop with the fake solutions, the fad diets, the untargeted supplements and stuff. Stop guessing. And if you know someone suffering, I hear it every day. I have to listen to the stories and read the stories about people suffering from some kind of health problem. And in this day and age, they're getting extreme, and I can help them. I can help every single one of these people. And I need your help, people. Everyone listening to me right now, I need you to tell them to guide everyone you know who has health and wellness problems. Guide them to me. Share this broadcast. Get them my email address, whatever. The email address, cklein37@netzero. It will be in the description box of this podcast. Get it, email me, share it. If you have a health problem, definitely email me. We'll get you on homeostasis. And everyone who emails me, I actually have a diagram of homeostasis. I was barely able to encapsulate homeostasis in a diagram. It's a lot to it, but I was able to actually organize health and wellness into a diagram. It's pretty wild. So yeah, I send you that. Anyone who emails me with your health problem, you get the diagram. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about, and you'll see how I can make the claim of having a 100% success rate healing people and myself. Anyways, in my first podcast, I promised that I would talk about cancer in this podcast, and I'm going to delay that by a day. I need a mulligan of my first podcast. I talked about weight control, weight loss, and I went into some theories, some bogus theories and assertions about weight control, and that was very sloppy of me. I should have done a whole lot more than that. I need a mulligan on that one, so I'm going to talk about weight control, weight loss a whole lot more today. And I'm going to read some excerpts from my book. I should have talked about the 7 factors of staying slim down to your muscle. I wrote a book called The Diet and Nutrition Super Manual. And in that, I outline 7 factors that must be addressed, every single one of them, if you want to stay slim down to your muscle, if you want strong muscles and give your brain an excuse to burn off the fat cells that pile up around your body. You've got to put your body in an anabolic mode, folks. Most people, almost everyone walking around, if you're overweight, your body is in a catabolic mode. It is eating itself to survive. And we got to get that in a anabolic mode. And I show you in the Diet Nutrition Super Manual. So, I'm going to get into it. I'm going to read an excerpt from each of the 7 factors. I'm going to read the opening paragraph under each factor, except for the nutrients factor. Under the nutrients, I'm going to read the opening paragraph plus a little more. I'm going to go into some numbers in our diet, something the other gurus, the other experts, no one does. They don't give you they don't break your diet down like I have done in my book and what I teach people. I actually give you numbers and science and show you exactly what your food is doing to you. Anyways, I digress. First factor in weight control: staying slim down to your muscle, keeping yourself in an anabolic mode. Strong muscles, strong everything. Strong at the cellular level. Okay, first factor in my book: pH. Potential hydrogen. You've probably heard about pH. It's getting super popular. Everyone wants to boost the pH of their blood and drink alkaline water and stuff and eat alkaline foods to avoid cancer and stuff. But you need to maintain a higher pH in your blood in order to avoid health problems. Anyways, I'm digressing already. That's another thing I need to address. I'm the worst presenter. I am terrible. I am atrocious at presenting. I swear I have a autistic mind and I just go off on tangents. I have a very difficult time expressing myself. That's one thing you need to know about me and understand as you're listening to me. I am very intellectual, but as far as expressing my thoughts, they're terrible. I'm terrible at it. I can heal anyone like it's no one's business. I'm a doer, not a talker, put it that way. I can heal all day long. I can't talk to save my life. I cannot talk for 10 straight minutes without a guide or an outline to save my life. And I'm kind of broken mentally. Like I said, I think I have an autistic mind by those stupid vaccines I had as a kid. I think they did a number on me. It's a whole lot better than it was when I was a teenager. I couldn't string together 2 sentences. I'm light years ahead of where I was as a teenager. But it took a lot of work. Man, I had to get perfectly healthy and really work at it to get to where I am now, to be able to talk like this. But I still have a long ways to go, and I'm not sure if I'll ever be great at it. Anyways, my thoughts get choppy and they go off on tangents, so you just have to understand and bear with me. So with each of the 7 factors, I'm going to read the opening paragraph of each factor in my book. First factor, pH. pH stands for the potential hydrogen, or power of hydrogen, of a liquid. The pH scale runs from 1.0 to 14.0. With 1.0 to 6.9 being acidic and 7.1 to 14.0 being alkaline. 7.0 is neutral. This is basic biology, or chemistry, I should say, by the way, just as an aside. You probably all know about this, but I start from the beginning. I start from the basics with whatever I teach. Anyways, moving along. Your bodily fluids must maintain a pH of 7.4. That should say blood, I think. Your blood must maintain a pH of 7.4 plus or minus 0.05 to live. If it falls below 7.0, you can fall into a coma and die. You also die if your pH rises above 7.8. The bottom line is that it is much easier for your blood to fall below the proper range and become more acidic than it is to be too high, due to all the contributing factors. Also keep in mind, hydrogen is the most abundant and one of the most important elements in the universe. It's quite vital to your body, as you will learn in latter parts of this book, necessary for energy production and DNA protection. Factor number 2, chemicals. Quote, chemicals are everywhere in the industrialized world, and we all know, or should know, it's just not healthy to consume them or even be around them. If you are not consuming a 100% organic diet, you are consuming chemicals to some degree, whether it's pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, genetically modified crops, GMOs, sodium fluoride or hexafluorosalicylic acid, manipulated natural foods, synthetic foods, etc. You are consuming chemicals that mess with your body and mind. That's factor number 2, chemicals. Factor number 3, muscle nourishment, strength, and size. Quote, another major reason we gain and maintain excess fat is because we lose the ability to burn the fat through muscle contraction, while at the same time consuming too much fat. We starve our muscles of critical nutrients, so they shrink while feeding fat cells. Instead, you must starve the fat cells and nourish the muscle cells, and then the pounds will melt off. You must go from fat building or muscle maintaining mode to muscle building and maintaining mode. We're not talking about becoming a bodybuilder or athlete or even working out. We're talking about nourishing your muscles to make them strong and able to properly burn off extra calories you consume instead of storing them. As well as an aside, burning off the fat cells that are already stored, not just the extra calories you take in immediately, but the fat cells stored up around your body already. You must give your brain an excuse to burn them off, and you must nourish your muscles to do that. Anyways, muscles require a lot of energy and nutrients to flex and maintain, and I touched on that in my first podcast about how you got to eat a lot of carbohydrates as well as protein, as well as, a bunch of other stuff in order to maintain your muscle strength and the existence, so that your body doesn't consume them to stay alive and protect internal organs. Anyways, that's factor number 3. Muscle nourishment, strength, and size. Factor number 4, hormones. Big one here. We run into a problem with hormonal balance in the Western world. There are multiple hormones in our body that must be maintained at proper levels. There's one in particular that's heavily responsible for fat storage, estrogen, and others responsible for muscle strength, testosterone, IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, and growth hormone. We'll call these latter hormones the anabolic group. There's actually, just as an aside, there's actually over 60 hormones our bodies require at proper levels to function properly. So I'm sure, as you can see, and you're starting to get the picture, it takes a lot for us to stay healthy, and it doesn't take much for our body to get unhealthy. That's a lot of hormones to maintain. So that's number 4, I believe. Hormones. Factor number 5. Calories. Touched on this in the first podcast. Quote, your body can burn through some calories even without physical movement. The average adult with a totally sedentary lifestyle needs over 2,000 calories in a day just to maintain. That's quite a lot of calories. You would need to eat 3 average portioned unhealthy meals or 3 large clean meals to achieve that many calories. Your brain alone needs 600 calories per day to function. That's an entire meal. So calorie restriction obviously is not a substantial factor in weight control. If it were, all the people I've seen who skip breakfast or count calories would be anorexic. Instead, they're all flabby or overweight. Why is that? Because the other conditions in their bodies aren't right and they actually don't get enough calories. Man, each of these opening paragraphs could be the entire section. Pretty hard hitting stuff. So calories, that's, I believe, factor number 5. Factor number 6. Of the 7 factors, nutrients, and this is the one where I'm going to go into even further detail. I'm going to read off a little bit more than the opening section. Nutrients, quote, our bodies were designed to live off over 90 nutrients, most of which come from fruits and vegetables. You consume or internally produce them all to perfectly regulate and balance your body. I'm sorry, I don't know if I read that right. You must consume or internally produce them all to perfectly regulate and balance your body. The diet and supplements outlined later will get you there. It's truly the perfect diet. The more you eat of it, the healthier you become and the closer you stay to your ideal body weight. It may be a little blander than you're used to, but the bonus is you can eat as much as you want. So that's the opening paragraph, and I wanted to go over a table containing some numbers. Yes, here we go. To give you a good gauge of the fat health of some foods, let's look at the numbers. Here's a comparison of the fat content of some popular foods. Now, each food I'm going to go list right here, there's 5 foods. Each one I'm going to list is per cup. This is the amount of fat per cup. With the exception of the last one, grass-fed ground beef is 4 ounces. So, per cup of yellow corn, we have the omega-3 fatty acid content is 108 milligrams. The omega-6 content is 3,481 milligrams. Now, omega, I'm sure everyone listening is aware that the omega-3 is an anti-inflammation fat, and omega-6 is the inflammation omega fatty acid, the inflammation-inducing fatty acid. You have to ideally maintain a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-3 to omega-6. Typically, for a healthy food, the ratio is going to be more like 2 or 3 to 1 omega-6 to omega-3. 2 or 3 omega-6 molecules to 1 omega-3 molecule. Now, the yellow corn I just listed, I just gave you the fat content of. Again, 108 milligrams of omega-3, 3,481 milligrams of omega-6. That is a 35 to 1 ratio, omega-6 to omega-3. That sound healthy? And the reason you try to get the omega-3 in your diet is because the omega-3 has a hydrogen to donate. It has bioavailable hydrogen it can donate to the omega-6 fatty acid to stabilize the omega-6 and cause it to inflammate less. However you say that, cause less inflammation. So with the yellow corn, we have a 35 to 1 ratio, omega-6 to omega-3. Soy, omega-3, 2,482 milligrams. 18th of omega-3 fatty acid. Omega-6 fatty acid, 18,515 milligrams. That's about 6 to 1, 5 to 1. 18.5 to 2.5. 5-ish. 5 to 1 ratio, omega-6 to omega-1. However, big however here. Look at the content, the amount while it may have a better ratio than yellow corn, the amount is disastrous. 18,515 milligrams of omega-6 in soy compared to 3,481 milligrams in yellow corn. That's 6 times, 5 times, about 5 times as many omega-6 in soy as corn is in corn. And we're just getting started. Peanuts, 4.4 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acid. So basically no omega-3s in peanuts. Trace. Omega-6 fatty acid content in peanuts, 22,909 milligrams. That is a 1,000 to 1 ratio, or 23 grams to basically 0.04 grams. Divide by 4, you're looking at about 6,000? 6 grams of omega-6 to every 1 gram of omega-3. 6? I'm sorry. 6,000. The ratio is 6,000 to 1. I'm trying to do math on the fly here, folks, and I may have been a former bookkeeper, but I'm still, like I said, slow in the head. Anyways, so yeah, we're looking at a 6,000 to 1 ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid in peanuts. Olives. This is a fun one. Omega-3 content in olives, 2,241. So kind of similar to soy. Omega-6 content, 72,230 milligrams of omega-6 in olives. By far the highest omega-6 content of all the foods. The ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 in olives, 72 to 2-ish. So 72 grams. That's 72 grams of omega-6 fatty acid in a cup of olives to 2.2 grams. Or 2 grams, I'm rounding. 72 grams to 2 grams of omega-3. So divide each by 2, you're looking at 36 to 1 ratio. Omega-6 to omega-3, which is a whole lot better than peanuts. But the content of the inflammation omega-6 fatty acid is about over 6 times. Not 6, I'm sorry, 3. The actual content of omega-6 in olives compared to peanuts is over 3 times as much omega-6 inflammation fatty acid as it is in peanuts. That's wild. That's outrageous. How many times have you heard, oh, olives are in the Bible? Yeah, corn's also in the Bible. So is wheat. Doesn't mean it's healthy. People... anyways, don't get me started. It takes me a lot to not go off on tangents on these people that with lack of content, the simplistic theories, the overly simplistic theories about diet and nutrition. Folks, you got to break down the food. You got to break it down. You got to start at the basics, the building blocks. Ask questions. Anyways, fifth food, not maybe as popular as the first 4, but grass-fed ground beef. This is 4 ounces, not a cup, but 4 ounces, your average quarter pounder, the average serving of a grass-fed ground beef. So omega-3 content, 98.4 milligrams. So about 25 times as many omega-3s in peanuts. Similar content as a cup of yellow corn. However, the ratio... I'm sorry, I'll just start with the content. The content of omega-6 fatty acid in a quarter pounder of ground beef, 480 milligrams. So let's review real quick the first 4 foods. Corn, soy, peanuts, and olives. Corn, 3,481 milligrams of omega-6. Soy, 18,515 milligrams. Peanuts, 22,909 milligrams. Olives, 72,230 milligrams. Grass-fed beef, 480 milligrams. A fraction of the content, the omega-6 content, as in yellow corn, by about a factor of 6, maybe. 500 milligrams to 3,500 milligrams. So 5 to 37, that's 7. That's roughly 7 times as much omega-6 in a cup of corn as a quarter pounder of beef. And we wonder why people are obese. Folks, you gotta think about this stuff. You gotta consider it. Consider context, consider building blocks. Oh, and we're not only that, it's much worse than what I'm telling you. This is just the basic food. This is not the oil. Imagine the fat content of a cup of oil for corn, soy, peanuts, olive. We make oil out of all 4 of those. Imagine the inflammation we're getting in the oil, the omega-6 inflammation fatty acid we're getting in the oil we make out of these foods. It's astounding. I mean, this is a cup of corn. It's not oily. It's just the food. I mean, you can hold a cup of corn in your hand. And the oil that's like concentrated. The concentrated content of the food. And we're frying foods in this stuff. People say, oh, peanut oil. Chick-fil-A uses peanut oil in their to fry their foods. They don't use lard or whatever the others use. That's worse. It's probably just as bad or worse. I mean, I just gave you the content of inflammation, fatty acid, and peanut oil. Soy oil, we use that a lot to cook with. Corn oil, otherwise known as vegetable oil. Folks are poisoning herself. Then we wonder why cancer is off the charts. Omega-6, and I'm going to get into this in my spiel on cancer. Omega-6 fatty acid is a carcinogen. It is a driver of cancer. I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to prove it in my spiel on cancer. You're going to be shocked. And that's not including, I haven't even touched on the livestock aspect of the animals they're feeding this stuff to. They're feeding corn and soy to chicken and cows. That's like eating corn, concentrated corn and concentrated soy. And I think I touched on this in the first podcast. I said people eating chicken, it's like they're having an allergic reaction to it. This is why. I mean, if you're eating concentrated soy, I just gave you the fat content, the inflammation content of soy, and you feed that to animals and it bioaccumulates in their system. I mean, it's got to be an allergic reaction. These poor morbidly obese people are having an allergic reaction to the chicken they're eating or the soy they're eating. So we got to teach each other this context, folks. We gotta make it happen. We gotta spread the word. We gotta inform, educate the world about this stuff. You know, I may not have a degree. I may not be certified in anything, but that's why people might consider me a know-it-all. I'm not a know-it-all, and that's why I'm so effective. I don't pretend to know everything. That's how I got to where I am. I'm not confined to a narrow lens like the people who have their degrees and stuff. I don't walk around with a narrow lens of a degree guiding me, I'm not restricted to a certain set of products or services. I'm not confined to anything. That's why I'm so effective. I'm constantly asking questions, constantly learning more stuff. Up until yesterday, I learned more stuff about cancer. I mean, it feels like every day I'm constantly learning, and that's why I got to write six books. Six books, four or five of them, four alone on health and wellness. Again, you get them all. If you email me with your health problem, it's part of my package. Part of homeostasis. You gotta learn this stuff in my books. We gotta educate everybody. I thought there was another section I was gonna read in the. No, I know what it is. That was just factor number 6. I think was nutrients, and those nutrients in that table was a big one. The fat content we're ingesting in these foods, supposedly healthy foods. Factor number 7. It's around here somewhere. I'm gonna conclude this podcast with factor number 7. It's already on 30 minutes. 31 minutes. Where is it? Raw. There it is. Factor number 7. Raw. I didn't know of a better way to put it. Anyways, consuming a bunch of nutrients will do you no good if they're dead. Again, heat destroys nutrients. If you want optimal health, eat and drink as much raw foods and liquids as possible. Raw dairy is becoming popular. That stuff is extremely healthy. All raw milk is from grass-fed cows, and some is non-homogenized too. Probably all of it. I don't know why I wrote that. I think it might all be non-homogenized. The pasteurized stuff might be homogenized. Maybe that's why I wrote that. But I don't think they homogenize any raw milk. Anyways, last sentence. Some say the homogenization process clogs your arteries. So, that's it. You address those 7 factors, you're going to stay slim down to your muscle. Your muscles are going to stay strong and burn off the fat cells sitting around your body, especially if you boost your testosterone. Man, you balance out that estrogen, testosterone. Those are some of the biggest detoxes I ever had, was jacking up my testosterone levels. Burned off a lot of fat, and it came out through my pores in the form of acne. That's fat, mind you. I'm just going to touch on acne real quick. When you have oil coming out your pores, that's fat. Via either the fat cells that's coming out your body or the food you just ate. It's oil. It's fat. And bacteria gets trapped in it. So if you detox, you're probably, and you start to lose a bunch of weight, you're probably going to get some bad acne. So that's my second podcast, the Body Mechanic Podcast. Again, email address to get your homeostasis, heal up from any health problem under the sun. cklein37@netzero.com. That's CKLEIN37@netzero.com. Net zero spelled out NETZERO.com. And one more thing I should have mentioned, to encapsulate what I just gave you, the 7 factors. All I'm doing is eating like they did 100 years ago. That's it. Eat like they were all slim 100 years ago. Obesity was rare. Eat like they did 100 years ago, you're going to be slim down to your muscle. I look like they did 100 years ago. Anyways, that's all this is. So shoot me an email if you're having any kind of health problem. You want it solved. Your doctors ain't helping. Your health and wellness gurus ain't working. You're hemorrhaging money trying to fix your problems. You can stop doing that now. And shoot me an email. cklein37@netzero.com. This is your body mechanic, your friend, your healer, signing off.